Hello, boys and girls. Jason up, New Age Revolution down here. Sunday morning, getting a quick video up for you. Another Whatever Happened To. That's right. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think you guys are aware that I am a fan of. Something that used to be called the WWF. That's right. For all you animal lovers out there, it is not the World Wildlife Foundation or World Wildlife Fund. I don't know. It is the World Wrestling Federation. That's right. The precursor to World Wrestling Entertainment. And the, I don't know, do I say garbage that has become professional wrestling, or the WWE at least today? I don't know. I guess I can't call it garbage. That would be unfair to all the fans of it. It was probably garbage in 1984 to other people, to older folks who enjoyed the 60s and 70s wrestling, I suppose. I have to look at it that way. But anyway, today we go back to where it all began. We talk about my introduction to the WWF that basically led to this entire room happening. We talk about it today on Whatever Happened To the WWF. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, whatever happened to the WWF, and this topic, I was going to do a Whatever Happened to Saturday Night's Main Event. That's coming, don't worry. But the reason I switched from that to WWF was it's WrestleMania weekend. And to me, anyways, it is the most quiet WrestleMania weekend ever in the history of my existence. I forgot that it was WrestleMania. I had no idea. And I don't care. And I think and that's sad to me, because I think for the first time in since 1985, I don't care that it's WrestleMania. And when I looked at last night's results, it's apparently a two-night event. When I looked at last night's results, I was just like, man, this has no thrills whatsoever. Like, nothing. It's over, I guess, for me anyways. But not in comparison to the WrestleManias of the past or any of the other feelings that the World Wrestling Federation provided. I'm reliving those moments, those feelings, through the Wrestling with the Past series that I do with you. And as I'm watching that, I'm reminded about how special this was. I've told the story of how I was introduced to the WWF so many times. And I just love telling it because I love reliving it. I'll give you the shortened version for those who are new to the channel. At 8 years old in 1984, I had the opportunity to move into a bedroom off of our family room. We had a center split house, 4 stairs to the upstairs, 4 stairs to the downstairs, and then the living room kitchen in the middle. And for whatever reason, we had a roommate, we had a cousin. My dad's cousin lived with us for a little while, and maybe 19, 20 years old. At the time, I think he's probably 50, right? But in reality, he's probably 19. And he had a cable hookup in his room and did his own thing. And when he moved out, for whatever reason, 8-year-old me wanted to go sleep in the family room, basically a basement bedroom. And for whatever reason, my parents agreed and let me go down there. And either they didn't realize or they didn't care. But the cable hookup was still there, and the television was still there. So I basically moved into that room, and the cable was right there. And so at 8 years old, as soon as I figured out, everybody goes to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm down here with the remote and full access to the entire world through our 19-channel Rochester Cablevision system. I saw a lot of stuff. One of the first things I did see, though, was WWF Championship Wrestling. It must have been the 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock midnight show on a Saturday night. And what drew me to it was the intro. It was the Hulk Hogan, highlights of the Hulk Hogan Iron Sheik MSG match with the background of Michael Jackson's Thriller playing. That was the theme. And at the time, Thriller was a huge song. And so that must have been the thing that captured my attention. And I didn't blink for, until like 1993 when it came to wrestling. And then shortly thereafter, the figures were introduced. And then the toy world exploded, or my toy interest exploded. And wrestling just went everywhere. And wrestling bed sheets, wrestling notebooks, wrestling folders, wrestling lunchboxes, wrestling everything. It's honestly all I cared about at all. That was the only thing that I was interested in. And it was such a magical feeling that I cannot describe. I've sat around thinking about this show going, how am I going to express the magic? And I can't. I don't know how. I don't know if it was the superhero-like characters of Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka. Was it the dastardly bad guys of Iron Sheik and, Roddy Piper? And, what was it? What was it that captured us at 8, 9 years old in the early 80s? What made the WWF stick so much? And does it have the same impact that it did then? Does it have the same impact on kids today? Is an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old who's watching John Cena and Roman Reigns, are they getting that same passion and that same love that we had back then? I don't know. I don't think so, but I would be naive to say that. So I don't know. But I just know it was on, and whenever it was on television, I was glued to the set. I was in a trance for an hour or two during wrestling, and knowing what we had back then, the 1 hour of enhancement work, jobber matches, squash matches, not seeing main event matches on TV, not seeing star versus star, certainly not seeing titles change hands. I mean, Tito Santana held the belt forever until what, 86 or 86 with Randy Savage. Hogan held it forever. We never saw title changes on TV. There was no Monday Night Raw, which was full of main event matches. The closest that we got to that was a primetime wrestling, which would show, bigger name matches, more competitive matches from house shows. Or if you were lucky enough to catch a house show on TV, you hit the jackpot. Because pay-per-views hadn't even happened yet in 1984. They weren't even a thing. Right? So you were watching enhancement for an hour. You were watching some good matches on prime time, and if you got lucky to watch a house show, you would see some main event matches. But you never knew when a house show was on because the TV guide didn't list house show, right? It just listed wrestling, and it was usually so they'd air the MSG house shows on a Monday night, which was when primetime wrestling was on. So really, you don't know if you're tuning into primetime if you're going to catch a house show. It was just magical. And if you did catch a house show, you had no idea what the matches were going to be, and that's even more magical. And I think that contributes again to the love affair. The cartoon that we just reviewed the other day, the Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, can't be duplicated. That feeling can't be duplicated. The figures can't be duplicated. There is not a figure or a toy line or an anything today that compares to the joy and the excitement of getting those LJN figures years ago. No chance. Nothing today competes. I stuck with it for a while. I mean, the magic of Saturday night's main event, wow, that's a whole show. We'll do that show soon. Whatever happened to Saturday night's main event. What an event that was. To check the TV guide, to see by surprise that it was Saturday night's main event. And as a kid, you don't realize that these shows are on quarterly. Okay, I think Saturday night's main event aired 4 times a year. As a kid, you have no idea what that even means. And so, in my mind, it's like once a year, Saturday night's main event's going to be on. if I had just realized that it would be every 3 months or so. But I would get the TV guide every week and jump right to Saturday and see if it was on. And, oh, it's Saturday Night Live. It's not on. Yeah, bummer. And then that moment when you get the TV guide and you see that half-page insert that says, it's tonight, it's Saturday night's main event. The excitement for that began, well, first of all, it began the day you found out. But Saturday morning, oh man, Saturday morning, that Saturday was going to be a beautiful day. The cartoons were going to be better. The food was going to taste better. Everything was going to be okay on the day of Saturday night's main event. It was going to be a good day. I love it. Saturday night's main event, never going to be duplicated again. The feeling that a kid had in 1985 or 86 or 87 of staying up until 1 a.m., keeping their eyes open, fighting off sleep until 11:30, and then that magical moment when the announcer says, Saturday Night Live will not be airing this week because it's time for the WWF. That music, the intro, we'll get all into that. And then this thing called pay-per-views happened. And that was just as exciting as Saturday Night's Main Event. Oh my God, when pay-per-views started happening, I never saw WrestleMania. I saw WrestleMania like 2 years after it aired. I saw WrestleMania 2 closed circuit in an arena, watching it on a projection screen. Beautiful, magical moment. WrestleMania 3 was the first pay-per-view that I actually saw, and I could write a book on those memories. I went with a friend of mine, my old childhood best friend. We drove about an hour and a half away to a friend's cottage, and we watched WrestleMania 3 at the lake. Food, pizza, fun. We got there hours early, playing on the lake and playing outside and just getting ready for the moment. And then the electricity of WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre. I keep saying this, but that feeling is never going to be duplicated by anything else ever again. Hogan, Andre, 95,000, whatever, 97,000 fans. WrestleMania 3 was like this worldwide thing. That was the moment that, Vince took over the world. And you could feel it. Even as a kid, you could feel how special this was. And then, of course, then we start to change a little bit. And Hogan is not the champion anymore. And we've got this tournament at WrestleMania 4. And then we've got Hogan versus Savage in 5. And then we've got good guy versus good guy, Hogan versus Warrior in 6. What is going on? Still magical. Still great moments. Not quite hitting the excitement level of WrestleMania 3, but it's there. I'm loving it as a kid. I remember watching WrestleMania 5 on pay-per-view. It was awesome. And then it started to shift a little bit. 90 with Hogan and Slaughter. There's not a lot that I remember about that and beyond. That's kind of when I started to, I don't know what happened. I just started to lose interest. I don't know why. I was watching a lot of NWA at that time too. So I was watching like, Dustin Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas and Brian Pillman and, of course, Ric Flair and, I don't know, all the guys from like 90, 91, 92 NWA. I loved it. I loved it more than the cartoony WWF, maybe because I was getting a little older. But the passion was still there for wrestling big time. I would get NWA pay-per-views and loved them. I remember Sting and Ric Flair on pay-per-view, Sting winning the belt, RoboCop appear. The Great Muta, great stuff. And then I started to lose it. And I think the moment that I lost it, kind of for good with the WWF, was Vince McMahon's infamous, maybe early creation of the Mr. McMahon character, when Vince McMahon came out and gave the famous good guys versus bad guys speech, where he basically destroyed kayfabe and said, come on, we're not going to insult your intelligence anymore. And that's when the sports entertainment thing took off, and it was over. It was over for me then. I really didn't follow the WWF at all anymore. I switched over to WCW. I did, watch the Monday Night Wars. I mainly watched WCW. But the fire wasn't there anymore. It wasn't there. And it wasn't because I was aging. That wasn't it. I mean, people stay diehard wrestling fans no matter what age. I just didn't care for the product anymore. It wasn't what I grew up on. It wasn't what I loved. It was becoming more risque and more adult, and women were playing a more prominent role, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying it wasn't what I watched. I didn't care about the women's division and all that, and it just changed. It changed, and I didn't change with it. I don't change much. So the prime era of the World Wrestling Federation for me is 1984 to about 1990. I stopped watching WWF in 93 and split my time with WWF and NWA from 90 to 93. And then that was it, and I've dabbled a little since. I've watched Ring of Honor. I started with TNA when it first came, and it was okay, and then I lost interest in that. And the closest thing that's got me a little bit interested is AEW, but I can't say I'm 100% interested in it because I canceled the streaming service that gave me the channel to watch it. So I don't know. It's thankfully through the world of tape trading, I have everything that I want to see, and I will be watching all through that and just living in the past as we do on this channel. So the WWF, what was it for you guys? Do you remember your first house show that you went to see? What a moment that was. And again, you talk about excitement that cannot be replaced, that will never be duplicated. Knowing that you got tickets to a house show, going to school that day and knowing that in a few hours you'd be driving to the arena, parking in the underground parking garage and walking up and seeing, going from the concourse to the actual arena and seeing the ring set up. Just, Christmas morning type stuff right there. That was huge. So it's definitely one of the biggest parts of my childhood. I like I said earlier, I think it's the discovering the WWF in 1984 is responsible for this whole room existing. I would say it lit the fire, and never again. It won't be back. But I will capture it with Wrestling with the Past and watching my shows and sharing them with you. Hopefully we can reignite that magic a little bit and enjoy one of the most important, iconic brands of our childhood, the WWF. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tell your stories. Tell your stories of why you love the World Wrestling Federation, why you stopped watching it. As a kid, were you more NWA than WWF? Did you care about the AWA? What about World Class Championship Wrestling after school? 4 o'clock, ESPN. And if you still watch today, tell me why. How do you do it? How do you go from the action of the 80s to Roman Reigns and John Cena? How do you do it? Let me know. Leave your comments, as always. And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of something. I don't know what. Whatever's here is what will be here. Until then, good night now.